Hello, Cathy Bramley here, and welcome to another episode of Curl Up with Cathy. Today, my guest is someone who's one of the most successful women's fiction writers of all time, probably, and someone who is much loved within the book industry. I'm delighted to welcome Cathy Fforde. Right, I want to talk about your publishing schedule, because you have quite an interesting publishing schedule, don't you, in that you have a hardback out 1 year, and then it follows on the 12 months later with the paperback, doesn't it?
Yes, but I have the paperback of the previous year, so I have a hardback and a paperback out more or less at the same time.
Yeah. So because this is this year's paperback.
Yeah.
A Rose Petal. See, I've got it in hardback, which is why I'm confused. So I had this at your signing, your little party, and it's actually signed by you.
There you go.
Such a lovely party that was at Somerset House, wasn't it? So this came out in paperback last year, and then came out in hardback last year, and
paperback this year.
And then A Springtime Affair came out in hardback this year.
And that's a proof copy.
It is, which is why it's paperback, which is why I'm getting so confused. But I've got the proof, yes. So it's a different cover. So it's got a girl on the front, hasn't it? So I don't want to confuse you. In fact, that's the cover.
That is the cover.
Yeah.
And I could go and get a copy of the book, but I think we're fine.
Yeah, we're fine. We can see it, can't we? So there we go. That's A Springtime Affair hardback cover, and I was very lucky to get a proof copy, and I really enjoyed that actually earlier this year. So so you have a hardback and a paperback every year, and how long is that? Very different for you when you launch a hardback? Do you launch that quite differently from a paperback? How does that work?
Yes, there's always a bit more fuss made of the hardback because it's the first time that book has seen the light of day. But I think we're all more interested in the bestseller results for the paperback, because that seems to be more important. Of course, it all went a bit wrong this year because, you know, the bookshops all shut just after it was out. Although so many people have had to bring books out, you know, without the bookshops being open. It must have been really, really difficult. But yes, the previous year, A Rose Petal Summer went to #1 in hardback on its first week out, which was, I think, because we had a really good sunny weekend in February. It was like spring. And I think everyone was out shopping for their barbecues in February, and they picked up the hardback, which was, of course, very well reduced. Always a bargain, but that's what we like. And so it did really fantastically well. And the Springtime Affair didn't do quite as well because, you know, the weather wasn't quite right, or it just wasn't quite so summery a feel, or it's just the zeitgeist, I think, makes people buy books.
Yeah, there is so much that can affect your own book sales, nothing to do with the book or what the publisher has done, or, you know, I mean, I've had books come out where I was really hoping it'd do well, and then it comes out at the same time as a film version of a book, and everybody's flocking to that, you know. I think Me Before You came out with the film cover on, and I think The Handmaid's Tale came out as well. One of them. So I've had, you know, so all the emphasis is on that, and everyone's rushing for that. So you just never can tell the weather.
Yeah, it's all. And I think it's quite important not to take it too personally, because people say, "This is my best book. Why is no one buying it?" Well, it is a real shame. But of course, when they're buying it, they don't know it's your best book. You know, that's something that comes about later.
Yeah.
But yes, I had Marion Keyes with her book and everything, and she's probably still in the charts, you know, because she's so you know, well loved and well bought. So yeah, no, it is hard, and I think we just have to, as I say, not take it as our personal responsibility, and just hope that it all aligns better the next time.
Exactly, you just have to move on to the next one, don't you? And you are moving on to the next one. We were just talking about that earlier. So you're writing a new one at the moment.
I am. Yes, indeed. In fact, I'm slightly dreading finishing it because although I would love it to be earlier than I said, end of July, I'm going to miss it if I haven't got it, because it's sort of been my safe place. You know how the world is just so difficult at the moment and everything is so hard. And I have started to think of, oh, I can write my book and then I don't have to think about anything else. And actually, I could have thought that right at the beginning, but somehow I couldn't, get my head around it. And I'm sort of become a little bit more rational most of the time now. I don't cry absolutely every day. Whereas at the beginning, I would always start the day with a good old cry. And in some ways, I felt it was quite relaxing. Well, I think in some ways it was quite necessary. It's quite good because you sort of feel better afterwards. But I'm not doing that so much now. Although
I do. No, I do. I put on, I do it secretly so no one can hear. I put my headphones in and I put my music on loud and I dance around my bedroom. And it makes you feel great.
That is such a good idea.
Yeah.
I haven't been taking nearly enough exercise.
Yeah, well, it's only 5 minutes, but you know what? It just picks you up, look at yourself in the mirror, you think, great. I'm a great dancer. I'm a great dancer. What do you mean? And it just puts me in a good mood for the day then. It's a bit of endorphins. So,
I think that's a really good idea. I once went to a party with a friend and she had a room for dancing and there were no lights on there at all, except the door was open. And people were in there going mad because they were completely unself-conscious. They knew no one could see. And they really had a lovely time. And it was the best plan because you always think, well, you want a bit of lighting, you want low lighting, you want this lighting. And actually, no lighting was the best lighting for the dancing.
Yeah, because no one can see those faces you pull.
No, exactly. All the time when you've got some move which you think is cool and is so last 10 years,
Well, there you go now. So tomorrow, just send me a message. Say I tried having a dance instead of a cry, and just tell me the difference.
I will. My slight problem is when I get up in the morning, I get up really early, and if the dogs haven't already got up, I've got one who's a bit poorly. In fact, she's very poorly, but we won't talk about that. And so she has been waking early, but I won't want to be making any noise because poorly she may be, but she's still got the hearing of a bat, and any little creak, I perch on the end of my chair, sort of typing slowly because she might hear me in the kitchen. Then I have to stop, go down, let her out, sort her out. And, I sort of don't want to be disturbed. I want to sort of do it secretly. But after I've done my work, there's nothing to stop me having a bop. So you're right, I should do that.
So I always remember you saying that you like to do 1,000 words in the morning and that's your writing for the day and then you move on. Is that still what you're doing?
Well, to be honest, I've been doing 2,000 words just recently. Well, because I'm in it. I'm in the zone. I know what I want to write. I know what happens. I want to spend time with my characters in the 60s because this book is set in the 60s. So I'm not thinking about COVID or anything. And apart from having to look up things like you never thought you'd look up, you just think, oh my goodness, she's 19. She has to get married. Does she have to have written permission from her parents? And I think she does. But you're constantly checking. And of course, every time you go on Google, you by mistake end up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Bit of a time suck thing.
Well, you see, because I was thinking, so I always remember you saying you did 1,000 words, and I don't have my deadline's a long way away, but I thought, well, I'm going to keep my hands in with writing, and I'm going to do what Katie does and write 1,000 words a day. Oh, hi there. As your husband's just walking in.
We've got success this time.
Good.
Yeah, all is well.
Don't tell everyone, Katie.
No, I won't.
Hi, Desmond.
Hi. You're all right?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Really good.
Now, don't let those dogs make a huge noise, will you, honey?
What?
The dogs always make a hideous noise when they go out for a walk. And they know when Desmond's had a nap, he gets up and he takes them out. Oh, well, if it's a hideous noise, well, you'll have to somehow
don't worry about that.
Erase it.
Yeah.
So you're doing 1,000 words.
Yeah, I am. And there's a group of us who are doing a little bit of a word race between 11 and 12. So that, and then I sort of think, well, at 12 o'clock I can finish because I don't have to do any more work because I've done my words, and Katie says that's all you need to do. So
I think it is. Well, as I said, when I thought I could only do 500, I thought 500 is fine. And actually, I usually did a few more than 500 because, you just think, oh, well, you know, come on, I'll just finish the sentence. But now I think, oh, I'll just finish the chapter because I'm in it. But I know, and then I was saying to someone, I said, what shall I do when I finished it? And someone said, well, you just have to start the next one, you know, get that on the go. And then, of course, this will take loads of editing and all that stuff. So
that'll
it'll come back to me in record time if I know my editor. I did a slightly rash thing. Usually in emails I'm quite serious, but the other day she said to me, because we've got to make the cover look like it's set in the 60s, and she said something about, can the heroine wear big earrings, because she's got a short geometric cut which she has done, and it's all very novel, and you know, and all that was new. And I said, well, I don't know. I said, you asked me to put a cat in so it could go on the cover. I put a lovely cat in and it never ended up on the cover. And I was obviously joking because, you know, I'm quite happy to put the cat in. And it was a lovely cat that actually did some work. It was a nice cat. But he didn't end up on the cover. And then somebody else who was copied into the email, I hadn't noticed, was saying, oh my goodness, Katie's upset because we didn't put it on the cover. We put it on the back. Oh dear, should we say? And I was just teasing. And I thought, oh gosh, don't do that.
Oh, your covers are very pretty. They are really
well, they are pretty.
They are
pretty. They're cheery. Well, we hope. That is the plan.
It is. All right, just before we break off, because we've already been talking for ages, I've got a list of questions. I asked my Facebook group what they would like, if they've got any questions for you. So I've got a few questions.
Lovely.
Tracy Edwards, who says, what do you do in your spare time?
Well, at the moment, what I do in my spare time, it seems, is walk around my garden and watch a lot of television. And actually, it's not something we used to do before, but Desmond and I have started watching things in the afternoon together as a little sort of togetherness thing, because weirdly, although we bicker a lot as a couple, we've bickered much, much less since we've been locked down. Whether we know that we've got no one else to talk to, we can't bicker, I don't know. So I've been doing that. I haven't, and then of course in the beginning when everybody was madly baking, I felt obliged to do a bit of baking because I felt I was missing out. And then I realised, gosh, you don't even like sourdough. Why are you worrying about trying to do a starter?
No, I did think about it, and then I
think I'm sorry that's Well, I'm sorry that's a rather boring answer.
Well, somebody
Tracy,
actually, Catherine O'Brien also asked, how do you relax? So that's probably the same thing. Do you like gardening? Are you into your garden?
Yes, it is. Well, I don't do a lot of gardening because I have gardeners, although I did do gardening when I didn't have gardeners. Because when I say I have gardeners, I'm very involved in the garden because I always used to do all of it. In fact, I would look at something and say, oh, I'm so glad you put that there, Sarah, because it looks really lovely. She said, no, you put that in, Katie. That was one of yours. And I think that she did it all because she just made it look so much better. But actually, a lot of the stuff I did put in. And I do love plants, and I'm very sort of engaged with it. And I'm always looking at rose catalogues and things. You know, I'm quite, I get rose lust and feel I must have a thing. And I say then to Sarah, I say, oh, I know it's really stupid and we haven't got room, but she's, we always find room, Katie. We can always fit in another plant. So I do like that.
Are you a David Austin roses fan?
Oh, yes, I am. Partly because they're easy. You know, you don't want everything that's too difficult to look after. And I do have honey fungus in some parts of my garden, which has been death to quite a few of my favourite roses, which is rather sad. But you just have to plant something somewhere else. And Sarah, again, having a gardener, she'll just look up something that's resistant, just have a different shrub. But yeah, no, I do love my garden.
Well, next question is from Lorraine West. She says, your main characters all have different jobs. Do you shadow someone to get it right?
Sorry, that's just, did you hear that? Incredibly loud crash to the floor. Sorry, do I find it difficult to get the jobs right?
Yeah, do you shadow someone to make sure you get it right?
I quite often do, and I have been known to actually have the job. Like when I was I worked in an auction house for a week to find out about that. But I don't always go to quite the same lengths. It sort of depends what the job is and how much I know about it already. YouTube is jolly useful these days, which we didn't have in the olden days when I started writing. You had the library, and which I never went to be honest, but I used to always talk to a person who had done the job. And I learned a lot from doing that. That sort of really did, teach me what jobs were like. Sweetheart, can I just halt you there? Des, sweetie, I'm sorry, I can't hear. No, I can't. I find it really difficult. Okay, thank you. Bit mutton, Jeff. Yes, so I used to really make sure I spoke to someone. I usually like to speak to someone, and I did speak to a lovely weaver.
Because Helena is, she weaves, doesn't she?
Yes.
That's quite a complicated thing to know how to do. So you spoke to a weaver. I
did, yes. And obviously I've sort of, known of weaving. When I set out to write a book about a weaver, I had a whole different scenario planned because my daughter knew a weaver and I had bought a couple of her blankets. And I thought, oh, good, yes, I'll ask her about that and that would be really good and really easy. And then, although she's my age, she went off to live with a new man in Cornwall. Oh. I thought, that's so inconsiderate, just going off. So I had to find a new weaver. I thought, well, there's going to be someone in Stroud. And I found lovely Nick. But his weaving is quite different. So I had to I did use what he told me about his weaving, but I also had my girl doing other sorts of weaving as well.
Yeah, okay. Right. Lou Booth says her favourites of your books are Paradise Fields and Summer at Sea, but which is Katie Fforde's favourite?
Very hard to say, because in a way, saying you've got a favourite book is like saying you've got a favourite child. But I did love writing both those books, actually. Paradise Fields was one of the fun books. Some books are definitely more fun to write than others, and Paradise Fields was fun. I did quite a lot of research in Stroud Farmers Markets for that one. And so I did enjoy writing that. And Summer at Sea, I knew that puffer. I'd known that puffer a long, about 40 years. So that was quite nice to write. I sometimes think when I'm looking at my old books for some reason, A Perfect Proposal is one of my favourites, which because you write a book, you put your whole little heart and soul in it, and then it's only sort of interesting to the world for a couple of months, really. And you just think, oh, well, I put so much effort into it, and now I'm thinking about something else. It seems like you set up a relationship, and then you're just walking away from it. You just think, oh, maybe I should just have the relationship longer. But so I like A Perfect Proposal, but then they've all got something about them that I've really liked doing. So there isn't really a particular favourite, but occasionally I'll see one and say, oh yes, I like that, doing that because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. If anyone talks about my books, I always think that is my favourite. Yeah. Oh, well, I like Wickham Hall. Oh, yes, well, that's probably my favourite. And then someone will say something else, and I go, oh, no, that was probably my favourite. So
yes.
They just all are. They all take up, and they all have memories attached to them to what you were doing when you were writing them as well. It's sort of that little period of your life. So they've all got such memories attached to them. It's impossible to take.
They have, and there's always some little item or a person or something. A book that I'm not wildly fond of generally has got a dog having puppies in it, which was completely based on our dog having puppies. And so that makes it special for that reason. So there is something about every book.
Okay. Rose Harding would like to know who your favourite author is.
Do you know, one day I'm going to make a list of favourite authors and try and remember it, because my favourite author tends to be the last book I've read, if I've enjoyed it. So it's sort of like favourite books. Or having a favourite flower. How can you say that you like a rose better than a bluebell? Because they're quite different.
Okay, so let's reword that question and say, what was the last book you really enjoyed?
Now I can't remember. I think it was The Switch by Beth Leary.
Oh yes, yeah, I do like her. I haven't read that one yet. I've read The Flat Share.
Yes, well, The Switch is lovely because it's about an older woman having a jolly good time. And as an older woman, I'm all in favour of that.
Yeah, good, right. Well, that's a good recommendation for Katie Fforde there. Right, Kim Nash, the lovely Kim.
Oh, lovely Kim.
Yeah, she has a question. What do you feel you have to do these days as an author to stand out in a crowded market?
It's so hard to stand out in a crowded market, and it is such a crowded market. When I started writing, the market, which I would say is our market, the big old hour, was tiny, really. There were hardly any of us. So we did stand out. And now it is just so much harder. I suppose just do your best and hope you get a really good cover. Hope some fluke means that everyone's talking about ice cream wagons or whatever. What are they called? Vans? No, for some reason. And there's just something that captures the public's imagination. But it's awfully hard. It really is. I don't really know the answer.
Just keep working hard. Just keep going.
Keep going.
Building and building.
Yeah.
And be generous to other authors, which Kim is, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That answers your question, Kim. Right. Finally, this isn't a question, but it's from Jill Batchelor, who says, just a very big thank you, Katie, because she's read all of your books and it's given her a lot of pleasure. They have given her a lot of pleasure.
Oh, well, that's so good to hear. When you're near the end of a book, you're enjoying it, but you are a bit sort of tired, and you really want people to say, come on, we want to read this book. So don't lie back and forget about it. Get on, get it written. You need that little bit of encouragement. And hearing things like that really is hugely encouraging, as I'm sure just people telling you they want what you're producing just makes the world of difference.
It does, it really does. Oh, well, that's lovely, and lots of lovely words of encouragement.
And you can hear the dogs, can't you?
I did hear the dogs in the background. Are they getting ready to go out?
They're getting ready to go out. Once they see Desmond sort of making those movements, maybe he can get them out of the front. Oh, sorry. Taking them out of the front, that's not quite so bad.
Well, listen, Katie, it's been absolutely delightful chatting. I'm glad we finally made it.
Oh, I'm glad we finally made it, because it has been so much fun. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And I wish you all the best for finishing that book. And I know we all are dying to read it. So.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll say goodbye for now. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.